Good morning, folks. Hi, Phil McPhail here with United Country Lifestyle Properties of Maine. Have you ever been up here in Maine, stood on the side of the mountain, way away from all the traffic and city lights, just you and the wind whispering through the forest? Well, we're going to look at a property like that today. We're up here in the town of Mount Chase. We're going to see 80 acres of forest land. Once it was partly field up here, but it's been reclaimed by the forest. We've got a 1,450-foot mountain peak that's included with the property. Stick around, you're going to want to see this beautiful land with me today. I'm over here standing in Mountain Road now on this 80 acres of land here in the town of Mount Chase. We're going to refer to this as M8L4, which is the map and lot reference for the town tax maps. We are in an off-grid location. There is no street number or street address in here. There's no cabin or house on this land yet. So we've got over 1,400 feet of frontage here along Mountain Road. This lot was once part of one of the original 1,800 surveyed 160 acre lots. This would be the west half of lot 46, if I remember correctly. From here, we're about 9 miles north of the town of Patton. That would be the closest town for any services. The town of Mount Chase is only about 190 people here, a little less than that. Patton's got a pretty good sized town with health center. There's grocery stores, hardware stores, building supplies, restaurants, a little bit of everything. The city of Holton, which is the southern county seat for Aroostook County, that's about 40 miles from here to our northeast. City of Bangor, about 100 miles to our south. That's an hour-and-a-half ride. Most of it's by I-95. Portland, I think we've got about a 3-hour and 15-minute ride from this location. That's Maine's largest city, and Boston is a little over 330 miles, and that's about 5 hours from here. Before we jump out into the woods, don't forget, like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and make sure you put on all those notifications by hitting that bell down below. We're over here in the southeast corner of the land. The boundary line is probably 300 feet to my east. This is one of the only really flat spots on this land. Like I said, this is a mountain lot. This goes up to the peak of Bald Mountain in the back of it. On the north end of the property, that will be Bald Mountain. You'll see that in the drone shots. Beautiful forest between here and there. This is an old clearing. We got some wildflowers growing in here. Pop a driveway in, swing it a little bit in. You probably get a really nice view of Katahdin with enough clearing back in there. If you cleared it on, well, you put your cabin in the middle of the clearing, you're going to get a beautiful view of Mount Chase off to the northeast. We're going to walk down the road now. There are a couple little creeks across this property. We're going to check those out. We're going to look at the timber. We're going to talk about the soils, and I'll tell you a little more about the elevations as we're walking. Well, as we walk down Mountain Road, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about this area. Mountain Road is the road that comes into the trailhead for the Mount Chase climb, and is about a 1 3/4 mile trail. The trailhead is right at the edge of this property and heads up to the 2,439 foot peak. Some amazing views up there. Bald Mountain is on this property. It's just a little southeast of Mount Chase. That's 1,460 feet at the high point. So you got a couple of really nice trails in here to hike. We also got an ATV and snowmobile access on this mountain road to be able to get onto those trails. The elevations here run from about 980 feet to 1,460. So it's a pretty steep piece of ground. The property is about 1/2 mile deep and a little over 1/4 mile wide. So it's a pretty good elevation change in a short distance there. We're going to jump into the woods here and check out this first brook. All right, we've made it over here where the road crosses this little creek, and we're going to tell you just a little bit more about the area before we go check that out. The Baxter State Park is just to our west here. This is an area that accesses that northern entrance to the park. That's a 200,000 plus acre state park. It's largest in Maine. We've got over 200 miles of hiking trails in there, 50 lakes and ponds, 40 mountain peaks, beautiful area, very scenic. Katahdin Woods and Waters National Monument adjoins Baxter State Park on the park's east side. That monument's over 87,000 acres, about 100 miles of hiking trails in there. We've got the East Branch of the Penobscot River, beautiful canoe trip there. Seboice River, again, beautiful canoe trip on that river. Lots of moose, deer, bear, wildlife everywhere you look. And then we've got hundreds, if not thousands, of lakes and ponds within a day strip of this location. So we're on the edge of the wilderness, right off of US Route 11, in here about 2.5 miles in on Mountain Road. From here on out, you're in the North Maine woods. I don't know if you folks can hear that babbling brook here I'm sitting in, but it's beautiful. It's a crystal clear mountain spring brook. This is the end of July, third week of July. Still water running here. You can see the width of the stream bed. If you were here in April, you'd probably whitewater kayak this thing if you had the guts to do it. But so it's going to vary in its size, but it looks like it runs a good portion of the year and probably under normal circumstances all year. You can build about 75 feet off this brook. That's a required setback for most waterways here of this nature. Be a great spot for a cabin. So if you're looking for a water feature, we've got one. This is, you could probably drink this water with a filter system, no problem at all. Check that out. We're going to keep walking up the hill, show you some of the timber, and talk a little bit about the soils and the elevations. All right, we're going to go for a walk up the hill and show you some of the timber on this property. And we'll follow this creek bed for a ways to kind of make it easy on us. The soils here, according to the NRCS soil map survey, are nearly 50% Dixmont and Bangor silt loams. That's a really good soil for growing just about everything from trees to vegetables. Great place for pasturing. You could also put some food plots in here if you like to hunt or you just want to see wildlife running through the forest. But this is a pretty nice hike up this old mountain creek. And as we walk through here, what we're seeing is a pretty diverse mixture of hardwoods. I've got some American beech I can see. We've got some ash, maple, white birch, poplar, hornbeam. See a little bit of everything growing in here right now. We're going to keep walking up this hill. Let's check out a little more of this brook. Over here walking this, what we believe to be the west boundary line. We found some old blazes and some orange paint here, and it's pretty close to where we thought it should be. So we don't have a current survey. The survey goes back to the 1800s, to the original lotting plan for the town, because this is a half of the west side here, west half of this lot. This line's probably been here for 100 years or better. So if you want to know for sure, you're going to have to hire a surveyor like I always tell you. But so we're going to follow this line for a ways. What I'm seeing in here is fairly level ground. This beginning of this lot, before it really hits the steep stuff, it's kind of thick in here in places. It's old field that's grown up to woods. But yeah, I think this could be reclaimed, and you could put some fields in here, do a little homesteading, food plots, or just manage it for timber like the current owner's doing. We're about a third of the way up the western boundary, and I want you to see this. There's a moose track right here that's as big as my hand. I don't know if you can see the track underneath me here. It's right here. Beautiful moose. I doubt we'll see it because we're making too much noise, but we're going to keep walking. Wanted to show that to you. There's a lot of wildlife in this area, and moose. A lot of people come to this area just to view moose, and it's not uncommon to see them in the woods. We're in here now. We're still walking along this creek that runs through the property, kind of wanders in and out of the property, and another little feeder in the center comes into it, but it's pretty cool. Nice little plunge pool here that's probably a foot deep right now. I'm sure it's much deeper when the water's high. Nice drop, be a little waterfall. This would be a cool place for a little back in the woods cabin. Let's go walk through this timber and check this out. All right, we're walking back down across the lot now. We're heading kind of easterly, and well, we got 99% hardwood. I'm trying to, yeah, there's a little bit of balsam fir scattered through this, but most of this property seems to be hardwood in this section. We're coming into the western third of the lot. Little spring seeps coming out of the ground all over the place. We got some white birch, poplars in here, some maple mixed in with it. Pretty easy walking overall. This ground's a little rockier than the lower section, and that didn't surprise me any. I'm guessing that This is where most of the water runs in the spring. We got some seeps here now. Even in July, we still see some spring seeps. And then the ground's coming up again on the other side of it. So this is getting towards the middle of the property, and it's just a natural runoff area that probably stays wet most of the year. And you can see here the transition right here. These ferns all of a sudden disappearing, and then boom. I think this was probably field here 100 years ago. Not much rock on the surface and pretty good, smooth looking ground. All right, I think we've shown you a pretty good slice of this property today. We're gonna go back out to my truck, wrap this up for you, and give you all the details, including the price. Hey folks, thanks for taking the tour with us on this 80 acres on Mountain Road in the town of Mount Chase, Maine. I'm gonna wrap it up with a price. Price on this is $125,000. Your taxes are right over here. We got 80 plus or minus acres. We've got some mountain creeks, got some nice timber, we've got some decent soils. We got a mountaintop, we got access to hiking trails at the edge of the property. ATV and snowmobile trail access. You can get here by car, so I don't know what else you could want. It's got almost everything except grid power. Grid power options or off-grid power options are really getting easy nowadays, so give me a call. Let's get together, 800-286-6164. Come on up, I'll show you this property today.